Hey guys, what's up? It is Ripe again, back with a mix of Neighbors from Hell and Ask Reddit stories. If you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to join our awesome community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled, "Neighbor stole my electricity and shot me in the hip when I confronted him about it." I live in a big city and theft is a common thing. You know, theft of cars, theft of belongings, even someone breaking into your house and taking things. But never once did I think that theft of electricity was a thing. I did not even know that it was possible. I mean, anything is possible if you are smart enough. But why would you even need to tap into someone else's power line and steal their electricity? Like I said, I did not even know this was a thing until it happened to me. And yes, my neighbor stole my electricity. There is an even crazier part to the story, but we will get to that at the end of the story. So let us start at the beginning. I live in a pretty popular city in the States. Although it is crowded, this is where I grew up and I was currently renting a house with my brother and two of our mutual friends. We all split bills, utilities and groceries evenly, so it was a lot more affordable for each and every one of us. Although we did not live in the absolute safest neighborhood, it also was not the worst. We had lived in the house for about 5 months and got to know some of our neighbors. A few other ones, like the lady that lived right next door to us, were not as friendly. But nonetheless, they did not cause us any problems, so we always just ignored it and went about our way. 1 month, however, we noticed that our electricity bill had been higher than it normally was. Like, a lot higher than it was supposed to be. We had gotten a new air conditioner and we had also purchased a new PS5, so we assumed it was that. We had been playing PS5 every night, all 4 of us together, and we had been using the new fan a lot as it was the summer month and it was pretty hot. My brother had said there was no way that the power went up that much just because of those 2 things. But I thought otherwise. I suggested we just pay for it now, and if the next month electricity bill were high as well, we would call the power company and look into it with them. So we continued about our business for the next month, paying attention to how much we used our electronics around the house. In 1 week in particular, we noticed that the lights kept flickering and spazzing out. At one point our power even shut off in the middle of us playing a game on the new PS5. We had looked to see if there was any construction work going on, any power lines around us, and there wasn't. We also looked up to see if there were any other reports of power outages, but nothing showed up. This flickering of the lights and electronics kept on happening for the next several days, but one day I noticed that while our lights were going on and off, the next door neighbor's lights were fine. I had discussed the issue with my brother and roommates, and we decided that we would call the next day to see if something was wrong with one of the power lines going to our house. When we called, however, they stated on their side everything looked fine. It did look like we were using more electricity than previous months, but we could not figure it out for the life of us. Except one day we did. See, just several nights later after calling the power company, all of us were woken up at about 1 in the morning to some pounding sounds on our roof. It sounded like someone, or something, was up there stomping around. My brother and I went to go check it out, and we were instantly shocked by what we found. The not-so-friendly lady from next door was hopping down from our roof and had a cable and some tools in her hand. From where she was coming down from the roof, I instantly made the connection. One of the main power lines from the telephone pole attached to our house, right there. "Hey, what are you doing?" My brother yelled at her and she immediately took off to her house. We ended up chasing her, which turned out not to be a smart decision on our part, because just as we thought she was locking herself in her house, she came back out with a gun. I quickly jumped in front of my brother, trying to protect him right as she fired at us. A bullet landed straight in my hip and damn, was it painful. I thought she was done when she started running away again, but she pointed the gun once more at my brother and shot at his foot. A few other neighbors and our roommates came out instantly to see what all the commotion was about and immediately called 911. I spent several days in the hospital and my brother was able to leave about 2 days later. It turns out that the crazy lady was tapping into the electrical line and manipulating it so that they were using our power. First of all, I don't even know how someone figures out they can do this. Second of all, I was pissed. She had manipulated the system so that they were using our power, which meant that she was not even paying for it. And not only that, but the psycho lady had enough balls to shoot at us when we caught her. What the hell? In the end though, she got her karma. She ended up admitting everything to the police, from the night she was on our roof to shooting us. This should not have surprised me, but it did because she had never said a word directly to us. She did end up getting charged on 2 counts of aggravated assault though, and was ordered to pay a fine for the power she stole from us. I guess when we were told to lock up our valuables, electricity is included in that as well. Today's topic is, what is the creepiest or most unexplained thing that has happened to you that you still think about to this day? Without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. When I was 13, I moved into my brother's bedroom, as it is an extension to the original house with an ensuite and is far larger than my old room. Originally, it was a tiny box room with the entrance to the attic, but was extended outwards. The attic entrance is always open, with a permanent set of metal ladders angled up into it. There's a picture of it here. The grey arch is where the original room ended. Within a few weeks of moving in, I would wake up in the middle of the night to see a figure staring down me, with a white head like a skull and formless black body. It would slowly move down to the foot of my bed and stare me until I moved, at which point it would sink into the floor. Just sleep paralysis, right? And I had begged to move into the room and had just got it set up, so I wasn't going to leave. I didn't really talk about it to anyone. It gradually became less frequent over time. 8 years after this, my brother mentioned at a get-together that he used to have a sleep paralysis demon when he lived in that room, a half-joking, half-freaked out way to other people when the topic of them came up. He described the exact same thing. Neither of us mentioned it to anybody else at the time it was happening, so we have no explanation for us both experiencing the same thing. And you know guys, now after this story I remember, years ago my brother always said that sometimes he wakes up and he cannot move at all. Some kind of paralysis, I would argue, but I don't think that he has that anymore. I think it was down to some kind of mineral or vitamin deficit or something. Either way, really creepy, because I think in the past he also sleepwalked. Are you guys sleepwalkers? Let us know in the comments if you have ever seen anybody do that. And the next one goes like this, maybe around age 14, early 90s. We were traveling from Texas up to Tacoma. We were about out of money, almost out of gas, no food, stuck in Chico, California. I sat in the car while mom took my sisters to the restroom at a gas station. I was riddled with anxiety about our situation, and looking down, the car door opened and I looked up. A lady that looked like a brown-haired Brady mom sat in the seat and faced me. She said, "It seems like you are down on your luck. Take this and give it to your mom. Tell her to pay it forward someday to someone who needs it." I looked down into my hand and there was a $100 bill. I looked up and she had disappeared. Nowhere in the parking lot, just vanished. I cried. When mom came back, I told her what happened and she cried. We got gas, there was a guy selling oranges on the side of the road, and we bought a bag and went to a local park that had a part of the river with a little spillway dam, and went swimming and ate oranges for a couple of hours before getting back on the road. I never saw the lady again, but she saved us and we did make it up to Tacoma to start our new life. Thank you, stranger lady with invisible powers, we never forgot your kindness. And the next one, in college I was roommates with my childhood best friend for about 2 years. We are very trusting with each other. We would go into each other's rooms freely and grab whatever we needed. To borrow clothes, hairbrush, perfume, etc. No questions asked. Just a knock if we were in the room to let each other know we were going in. Our rooms are across the hall from each other, with the hall facing the kitchen. So from the kitchen you could see down the hall where our rooms were. At the time my friend had very long black hair and she is very fair-skinned. One day I get home from work with my headphones in my ear talking to my mom about my day. I go in the kitchen and grab a snack. I see her walk out of her room and go into mine, leave my room and go back into hers. She looked like she just got out of the shower, her hair was soaking wet and she was wrapped in a white towel. Her long black wet hair is what I distinctly remember. Also, she made no eye contact with me, but I didn't think it was weird. I didn't say anything to her since borrowing each other's stuff was normal. I'm still on the phone with my mom, so I don't think much of it. I grab my snack, hang up with my mom and go into my room to watch TV. I figured she is getting ready to go somewhere and we will talk later. About an hour passes and I go to the kitchen to clean the plate I ate on. I see her in the kitchen making something to eat and I tell her, "Hey, what did you grab from my room earlier? Did you find what you needed?" She looks at me like if I was crazy and says, "What are you talking about?" So I say, "Yeah, earlier when I got home I saw you go into my room and grab something. Did you get what you needed?" Sorry, I didn't say hi, I was on the phone with my mom. She asks me if I am sure I saw her. I said yes, 100%. She tells me to grab my phone and go to her car ASAP, that she needs to show me something. I had my phone on me and she grabbed my keys from the kitchen counter along with her purse and she drags me out the front door and into her car. She then tells me she got home maybe 5 minutes before we started talking. She had spent the night at her boyfriend's and hadn't been home all day. So she has no idea who I saw. I will never forget the look on her face when she told me this. Complete fear and panic. She called the cops and they came along with the apartment manager. They checked the whole apartment and found no one. Nothing amiss, and they were in there a while checking every nook and cranny. The manager got maintenance to change our locks and gave us new keys that day. My friend then tells me that for a week she had been hearing noises from her bathroom, like bottles moving, and when she went to check she found nothing. I have no idea who I saw going in and out of our rooms, but it looked exactly like my friend. I don't drink or do drugs, not on meds. This was in 2014 and I still freak out when I think about it. A few years ago I was at my lowest point in life. Several people close to me had passed away unexpectedly. I was being bullied every day at my job. My life was falling apart. I was past being depressed. I just couldn't imagine waking up another day, so I had planned to end my life. Bought a one-way plane ticket, got sleeping pills and wrote a series of ending your own life notes. On the day I was to fly out to fulfill my plan, there was a terrible accident on the freeway to the airport. It was shut down both ways, so I drove into a nearby pub to have a beer and wait out the traffic. The second I sat on the patio with my drink, a gentleman asked if he could sit with me. Whatever I thought, sure, who cares? He told me that whatever I was doing next was a terrible idea and I would regret it. I thought, who is this random guy? But I listened. He said that he sensed I was in pain, but that I had an incredible life ahead of me and that this was not the way my story was supposed to end. Again, I had never met this guy in my life and hadn't mentioned a word to him about my plan. He asked me to hand him my keys and my wallet and he would give them back to me after I talked, and he listened. I poured my heart out to this random guy, told him all my traumas and pains in life and why I was heading to the airport on a one-way ticket to end my life in a cemetery across the country where my family was buried. He just listened and then he pulled out a lighter, asked me to pull out my and my own life letters and helped me burn them. He told me I was worth so much to the world and that after I finished my drink I needed to head home and get some sleep. He told me I was going to be okay tomorrow and I believed him. He then gave me my keys and my wallet back. I left that afternoon and went home, hugged my family, got some sleep, and the next day I started working on myself, finding a therapist and a new job. Years later I am in a fantastic place in life, so far from where I was that day, and to this day no one in my life knows how close I came to ending my own life. But this random stranger just somehow understood me and saved my life. I never saw him again, I don't even know his name. It is the most unexplained thing that has ever happened to me and I think about that guy every day. So thank you, kind stranger, for saving my life that random September day on a pub patio. And I have to say guys, that is an absolutely incredible story. which is nowadays, I would imagine, probably not so common because it seems that people don't really care much about strangers. Especially if you live in a huge city, there are just too many people. But I suppose in small communities or something, it is probably more common. This one goes like this. I don't know why I am posting this, but maybe it is because you are perhaps one of the few people who will understand. I once had something similar happen to me. I had planned to jump off a bridge near where I live. I was dead set on ending my life. I was just out of energy and love. I had no more life to give, if that makes any sense. It was right before Christmas and it was snowing. I stopped at the hotel near the bridge to mooch off their Wi-Fi to finish my notes. I was just about done when my battery died. Fine, I checked into a room to charge my laptop. As I was waiting, I began to get hungry. I felt burdened by the hunger, more annoyed than anything, so I decided to get something to eat. This hotel was located in a small town and the only restaurant was right next door. I was over and there was a closed sign on the door, but the lights were on and I could hear people inside, so I go in. A gray-haired man came out of the back and told me that him and the employees were having a Christmas party, but their chef could whip something up. I go into the main dining room and wait around a while before getting up to grab myself a beer. This big black guy comes out from the kitchen and asks me what I want to eat. I tell him that a burger and fries would do, or whatever is easiest for him. I go sit down in a booth and ponder what a big black guy is doing out in the middle of nowhere. The area we were in is pretty close-minded. Anyhow, he comes out from the kitchen with a burger, fries, another beer and one for himself. He promptly sits down and joins me. My thoughts for my ending my own life note are promptly pushed away as I become annoyed by his presence. He begins talking to me, telling me about his life, just filling silence, you know. And then he tells me that what I am about to do is a big mistake. If I don't care about living, why not do exactly what made me happy? Why not do all of the things that I'd been meaning to do but put off for work for solving other people's problems? He said a lot of other things too, some of which felt like he knew me and felt a bit foreboding, but in a good way, like somehow he knew that I would overcome all this suffering and lead a good life. By the end of the conversation, I was too exhausted to finish my note. I decided to finish it in the morning. When I woke up, I decided to give myself 1 year, just 1 year to try everything that man suggested. I decided to really truly do everything I could to be happy, to really give my all to doing the things I had been putting off. I decided to walk next door and see if I could find him or at least leave him a note. When I walked in, no one knew what I was talking about. There was no Christmas party, no black guy had ever worked there, and they closed at 5 p.m. the evening before due to the weather. I walked away stunned, but I couldn't really say surprised. The whole evening seemed surreal. To this day I have no idea who that man was. I only know that I owe him my life. The changes that I made that year after I met him eventually led to me meeting my husband and having my son. We stopped there on a summer road trip this past year and I cried when I realized how close I came to ending my life. I cannot imagine not knowing my husband or my son. I think of that man often and I call him my angel. Frankly, I don't care if he is or not, but he will always be the angel that saved my life. I hope someday I can pass it on. And guys, I have to admit, that was one of the most beautiful stories I have ever read on Reddit. And you know guys, I think I have talked about this in the past. Obviously I was not really in the similar situation. However, back when I was in university, there was a professor who was teaching what I was studying, and I told her about my plans in life. That I want to live abroad, maybe in Asia, and work there. And at that point in life, essentially everybody told me, no, you have to do the straight and narrow, stay in your home country, do what is safe, etc. And this person, aside from a few members of my family and especially my mom, was one of the only people who told me that whatever I do will probably be the right thing, and even if it isn't, it is at least worth pursuing your dreams even if they fail somehow. And guys, before we read the next one, I would just like to once again remind you, it would be really awesome if you could like the video and maybe even post a few star emojis in the comments if you want to support my channel. Thank you so much in advance, it really means the world to me and helps me out tremendously. Anyway, the next one starts like this. Once I was hired to load firewood into my aunt's basement. She lives alone and left the basement door open for me while she went out. I usually swing the interior basement door as wide as I can when I walk in, and the door almost never closes completely, but once I heard it close and when I was about to grab another load, I saw that the deadbolt locked. When I walk in, my arms are filled with firewood, so I wouldn't be able to lock it myself. Looked out the window and checked the garage to see if she came home, but she wasn't there. The door itself was enclosed, so no wind to shut it. I tried various ways of slamming the door so it would lock by itself, but nothing worked. It is an isolated house, so I would have heard someone drive up, and it is highly unlikely someone walked over just to lock the door and leave and time it while I was piling up firewood, and there's wooden steps, so I would have heard someone walking down them. It is the only time I have seen a deadbolt lock itself in my life. And guys, have you ever seen a deadbolt that locked itself? Let us know in the comments if you have ever witnessed that. Either way, the next one starts like this. Just a normal Saturday night, I was watching TV home alone with my 2 dogs when I heard a banging sound coming from the basement. Legit sounded like somebody was just banging something on the appliances we had down there. Now, there is no access into the basement from down there, only through the upstairs rooms that I was in, and knew nobody could have come in and got past me. So with this knowledge, I was not as scared as you may think, more curious as to what the heck the noise was. One of the 2 dogs, who is a meathead and wants to fight everybody, also heard the noise and was now bolting down into the basement to investigate. I get down and see that it is my other dog banging his head into our dryer and chest freezer, which are next to each other. My meathead dog is just stood there watching confused. So I approach my other dog and calm him down, and we all go back upstairs. Now this freaked the heck out of me and upset me, as it seems such very strange behavior for my dog to do. Fast forward only 30 minutes or so, the banging starts again. I instantly look over to my dog, but he is laid down, but now also aware of the noise downstairs. We run down into the basement, and it is Meathead now banging his head in between the appliances. Again, I now calm Meathead down and we all go back upstairs. Nothing has ever happened again since that night. 3 years now, so that ruled out brain tumors, which is what I read online about why maybe dogs bang their heads. But 2 dogs suddenly on the same night, and it only affecting one of them at any given time. 3 years, and the 3 of us never talk about that night. Edit, wow, thanks for all the awards and updates. To answer a few questions, yes, I have posted this story before. I have a very normal life, and this story is just way out there, but legit truthful to my otherwise mundane life. A few folks say it may have been a rodent / treat / toy they were after, but no, they were frenzied and hyperventilating. When they get things stuck under anything, they just cry and get me to get their stuff. I guess it boils down to just knowing your dogs. I know instantly from their body language just what the deal is, but that night I have never seen them so frenzied and upset. Also, it is otherwise a very nice basement, as basements go. I have never had a pest problem down there or in any other part of the house. Somebody mentioned that if it had only happened 3 years ago, why did I not make a video of it? My first instinct was to help my dogs to stop them harming themselves. At no point was my first thought to go and grab my phone to capture the moments on film. Really surprised I have to mention that one, but people / keyboards / warriors. And Ripe stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel, but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously, and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional Ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.